Right, so we now know how the Smart Insert function works. This time we're going to take a look at two functions. We're going to take a look at append to end of track, which I'm glad to say is identical to the version in the edit panel because it's one of my favorite edit operations. And we're also going to take a look at ripple overwrite, which is a very easy way of replacing one edit on our timeline with the IO from a different clip entirely. So let's take a look at both of these functions. Now, append to end of track is exactly the same as in the edit panel. It's our good old friend Shift F12, and it's going to take us to the end of our current video track and then plonk our new edit down on the end of that. And that depends upon which track we have active. So I'm just going to click into track 1 down here in the lower left, and then Shift and F12. And there you can see it's gone ahead and it's appended that edit to the end of this video track. It's not done anything weird to the track above. And if instead I go on to track 2 and I do the exact same thing, there's no weirdness there either. It just does exactly what we expect it to do, which is a giant relief after all of the weirdness with Smart Insert. So Shift F12, that's the good one. That's the one that we probably should be using on higher tracks if we want to start building edits on higher tracks, as well as the place on top edit, which we're going to cover in the next lecture. So if we want to hit a button to make a append edit, we just hit this icon here, which is the append icon, or again, alternatively, Shift and F12, exactly like the edit panel. So let's look at something different. Let's take a look at the ripple overwrite tool, because that can be quite useful. I'm just going to open up this rush and I'm going to set my IO. And let's say, for argument's sake, what I want to do is I want to replace one edit on the timeline with another edit and have everything ripple around to respect the duration of the new edit. That is exactly what ripple overwrite is for, and just like Smart Insert, it does weird stuff when you're working on any tracks higher than 1. So again, unfortunately, we want to try and keep our use of this tool to our first video track. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of this edit here so that we have this long edit up here. And what I want to do is I want to replace this long edit up here with something else and ripple everything to the right backwards. So I just need to open up a new rush and I want to make a short IO. And then I want to make sure that I have track 1 active. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have the playhead over the clip or the edit in the timeline that I want to replace. And once I've done that, I can say either Shift F10 or I can hit this icon here, which is ripple overwrite. And when I click that, you'll notice what happens is this big long edit here is replaced with my other short IO, and the clip, everything to the right, including stuff on higher tracks, is rippled backwards to respect the length of this new edit. So if I want to replace one edit with another, that's how I do that dead easily. I would recommend that as opposed to like trying to be clever with Smart Inserts on different tracks, because that always just is so difficult to get it to work. So if you want to go back, if you want to change an edit you've made, let's say you've decided on a different take, you don't even have to worry about getting the IO lined up perfectly, because ripple overwrite will ripple everything else out after you've changed the edit there. So ripple overwrite is quite a powerful function. Now, if we use ripple overwrite on a higher track, it can behave very strangely again. Now, what you might expect to happen working on track 2 is that this clip we've got here, this highlighted clip, would be replaced by our shorter or longer edit, and that everything would be rippled around that edit. Everything on the second track could be rippled to the left or to the right, depending on the duration of the replaced edit. This is not what happens, and what actually happens is really confusing. It took me ages to understand what was going on, and I still don't know why, because I can't think of a practical application for this to happen. If I hit ripple overwrite on track 2 here, what happens, believe it or not, is really confusing. First, it gets rid of the edit that was originally under the playhead but on the first track. Then, at the in point of that old edit which has now disappeared, which was here, it's made an insert edit of the I/O on this rush onto our second track. And it's actually an insert edit because now we're at 1 minute, whereas we were at 30 seconds before in total duration. So it's taken the overwrite function has somehow performed an insert edit on the second track, and this is why the tools in the cut panel need a lot of work. Basically, with the exception of either append to end of track or place on top, you should only be using these functions on your first video track, because this kind of bizarre behavior is what you get otherwise, and it really does frustrate everyone when using the cut panel. Like I said before, it is a work in progress. There are valuable and useful things about it, but you have to know what the right circumstances to use it are. So it's not something I would encourage people to use for every project. It's probably 1 or 2 full releases off of being what it could be, but when it gets there, it could be pretty cool. Now, this all seems really complicated and confusing. The only practical takeaway of this is that keep insert and overwrite functions in the cut panel to video track 1, okay? Otherwise you get all kinds of weird stuff going on. So that's it for this one. In the next lecture, we're going to take a look at place on top, which is going to be really quick and simple. So click on through to the next lecture,